This is a balisong, or butterfly knife, which you definitely know if you've watched my channel before, but if not, welcome. It's a blade with two freely swinging handles that you can spin around and do endless tricks with. Now, a few months ago, I was working on this balisong lightsaber short that I made for May the 4th, and it was getting me hyped about Star Wars again. I started watching through all the movies again, and of course, I had to break out the old lightsabers. Growing up, I always dueled with my lightsabers, but I never really got into spinning them much outside of the typical basic flourish here and there. But now that I've been flipping balisongs for the past couple of years, I was really curious about what kind of tricks I could do with this thing, and how would my balisong experience carry over to the flow art of saber spinning. Now, while these cheap plastic ones are great for the imagination, I figured this video would be a lot more enjoyable for everyone if I got a real one though. Not like actually able to slice through almost any substance instantly. I just mean one made out of metal with realistic lights and sounds. And that's where this comes in. Oh yeah, that looks way cooler. Now, when I was thinking about making a video exploring the flow art of saber spinning from a balisong flipper's perspective, I reached out to Sabers with my idea, and they were really excited about it, and they sent me this, the Luke 1 NeoPixel Saber from their lineup. Now this video is sponsored, as they did send this to me for free to use in this video, but don't worry, this is just one lifelong Star Wars fan's exploration of saber spinning. Just to be clear, they only sent to me this lightsaber and its accessories, and I'm not receiving any other payment or anything. However, I do have an affiliate link, so if you use it, you can save 7% on any order, and I will receive a 7% commission in return. The link is in the description and the comments if you do want to pick yourself up a saber and support me while you do it. I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe. And trust me, this video is going to be a lot better because of the saber. It looks incredibly realistic, just like the lightsabers in the movies on camera. And spinning in person is such a cool experience. The sound is so responsive, it really feels like I'm spinning an actual lightsaber. Plus it's all these cool effects. Now, how will the flow art of balisong transfer over to that of saber spinning? Will it lead to some cool new ideas? And what are the similarities and differences between flipping a balisong and spinning a saber? Come along with me as I find out. But while this corner of the room works well for balisongs, I'm going to need a bit more space to really spin this saber. Ah, much better. Now that I have a lot more space, this will be a lot easier. So, before I break down the differences between balisong flipping and saber spinning, because my whole channel is about balisongs, I first wanted to talk about my initial experience picking up an actual saber. Because like many of you as a kid, I definitely had my fair share of playing with these plastic lightsaber toys as a child. I feel like every kid, when they pick up a lightsaber, they naturally kind of do these types of spins. Of course, I knew those as a kid, but I looked up a couple of tutorials. Tutorial for the Obi Annie spin, which is a classic, and then of course the reverse Obi Annie spin, which that was the main difference when I picked up this lightsaber. I noticed how the balance on this one is very light. I mean, it's very light overall, but especially like the balance point is right near the handle. But this one is a lot more blade bias, to use a balisong term. But this, because there's so much more weight in the blade, when you spin it, you can actually like feel that weight. There actually feels like there's something there, which is nice because you can actually do these spins. I know like the Obi Annie spin was pretty easy to do on this plastic one, but the reverse Obi Annie spin, there's just like no weight on the tip. And so it's really hard to get it to flow well, but I can do it super easy on this one. Like as soon as I picked this one up, I was actually able to do it because I was really struggling on this plastic one. But yeah, really besides the Obi Annie spin and the reverse Obi Annie spin that I was attempting to do on this plastic one, I really couldn't do any cool combos or anything. I've watched a handful of videos on saber spinning, but I'm not nearly as deep into the hobby and I don't know all the terminology. So forgive me if I get something wrong. This is just my exploration of saber spinning from a balisong flipper's perspective. To start, I want to talk about what I see as the saber equivalent of individual balisong tricks. Saber spinning loops. Balisong tricks have a clear start and end, while most saber spins are loops, one repeating pattern that ends right where it started. There are some perfectly looping balisong tricks, such as the chaplain or infinity ladder, but most tricks are not like that. From start to finish, a balisong trick might leave you in a different grip, on the other handle, or with the knife open instead of closed, or some mix of the three. The reason this is significant is because how a trick ends dictates your next trick's starting position. In other words, what trick you can do next. Part of the difficulty with making combos as a beginner is that with your limited trick pool, you don't have many tricks that will link together well, and you don't have the skills to adjust the tricks to make combos yet. With saber spinning though, The spins all loop seamlessly, and their starting points often land right on, or at least cross through, the path of other spins. That makes it incredibly easy to combo. On top of that, the base movements themselves are much easier to learn with a saber than with a balisong. It's not only because they are easier to do, but because to learn them, you can simply slow down each spin as much as you need to understand it and to get into muscle memory. And as you get more comfortable, you just speed it up. But with balisong tricks, for most of them, you can't really slow them down all the way. At some point, you just have to commit and throw it with some speed, as you often need a certain amount of momentum to make the trick work properly. Plus, you often have to let go of the handles, even for tricks that aren't considered aerials, or hold it in a way that can be difficult before you've built up the finger strength and flexibility. Balisong tricks just require much more dexterity, and the margin of error for the tricks is much smaller. If saber spins were like throwing a ball into a basket, then most balisong tricks would be more like trying to hit a proton torpedo into the Death Star's exhaust port from a moving X-Wing. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but the point is, it takes a lot more time to learn each balisong trick. And I'm not simply speaking from my experience as a beginner saber spinner. From what I've seen online from other creators, saber spinning is just much less technical. Combine that with how compatible different spins are, and it's pretty easy to start comboing with a lightsaber. But it can take hours of dedicated practice before you can even string together a few balisong tricks into a choppy combo. Of course, just because you're doing a saber spin doesn't mean that you're doing it well. There's more to consider than just moving the blade through a general path. You can technically do the spins correctly, but if you don't move your whole body in harmony, your shoulders, torso, hips, and legs, in coordination with the blade through space, it won't look or feel quite right. Saber spinning demands a different type of skill set. Full body coordination, awareness of your surroundings, the ability to sense where your body is in space, and by extension, your lightsaber as well. Focusing on only your hand and arm may let you get the correct motion, but it won't create the satisfying, polished performance that distinguishes a Jedi-like spinner from someone just swinging around a glow stick. I'll dive deeper into that next, but for now, the main takeaway is that getting the fundamental movements down and putting those into combos is much easier on a saber than on a balisong. To be clear, I wouldn't say that saber spinning being less technical, nor balisong flipping having a steeper learning curve is a bad thing for either of them. It is incredibly rewarding to push past difficulty and figure out cool tricks and combos on a balisong. And it has been really fun to be able to dive right into creating combos with my lightsaber so soon after starting. Now, while saber spinning may be less technical than balisong flipping, more attention has to be given to the artistry and aesthetics of your performance. Balisong tricks are inherently visually striking. There's an endless supply of new tricks being created, and the ceiling for technical skill is far from being reached. You can really dive into focusing on technical exploration and clean execution without thinking much about aesthetics. And because of how dynamic the balisong is, it'll still look great. With saber spinning, the spins themselves do look cool, especially with the light and realistic sounds really selling the illusion of a real saber. But take away the effects, and at the end of the day, it's just a stick. The balisong's moving parts inherently create more visual complexity and variety in tricks, while saber spinning relies more on how you present and connect the moves to keep it engaging. What makes a performance enjoyable isn't just the spins themselves, but how they flow together, and beyond that, how the saber moves in tandem with the rest of your body, combined with good tempo and clean execution. Don't get me wrong, the best balisong flippers don't ignore aesthetics. They lean into the artistry of their flipping even more as they continue to advance and develop their own style. For me, I chase technical proficiency so I can express myself artistically more freely. Every flipper benefits from approaching balisongs, not just from a skill perspective, but also from an artistic one, creating combos that showcase not only skill, but also a visually compelling narrative. So aesthetics are important for balisong flipping too, yes, but with balisongs, you can go a long way on technicality alone. With saber spinning, the artistry has to be explored and refined to truly advance, because the technical side only takes you so far. Not only is the artistry behind the moves important, but you have a lot more to focus on. With balisong flipping, you can evolve more of your body if you want, say when adding in your offhand with transfers or doubles, or other body parts with power aerials, but you can get away with just focusing on only your one hand and the balisong. If you're posting a clip online, you could literally just include the balisong in your hand in frame. With saber spinning, you have to show your whole body. That gives you more to be aware of, but it also gives you more to work with. As I mentioned earlier, it takes your whole body to move the saber fluidly, but saber spinning as a performance art isn't just about how the saber looks, it's about how your whole body complements its movements and adds to the scene. The way you carry yourself completely changes the vibe of your spinning. When flipping a balisong, how you stand just isn't that important. You can play around with your stance, but ultimately what matters most is your trick choices and execution. When spinning a saber though, you can't get away with only focusing on the spins and just standing there. Whether you're being intentional about your stance or not, it's going to be viewed as a part of your performance. This is inherent to the medium. It's martial art inspired. Balisong flipping is more of a skill toy. It's about the skill required to do difficult movements. Yes, of course, there is a whole martial arts history to balisongs, but the approach the flipping community has to balisongs is not from that perspective. Saber spinning, like martial arts, is about full body control and how you can move your weapon in conjunction with your whole body. Like any practitioner will tell you, punches don't start from the arm, they start from the feet. When spinning a saber, if you don't look fully in control with your whole body and your saber, you won't look like a Jedi. And isn't that the point? You don't want to look like you're just spinning a cool glowing stick, but that you're an actual Jedi, or Sith, spinning in a way that conveys the power, control, and athleticism of a Force user. How you use various spins and strikes, your footwork, body position, acrobatics, and even your facial expressions can all change how your performance comes across. Not just as a visually stunning showcase, but selling the experience that you are what so many of us dreamed about becoming as kids, a Jedi like my father before me. I realized the importance of this especially while watching back my own footage. I noticed certain things I kept doing that I didn't like as much. I didn't realize how some of what I was doing would actually look like. Recording yourself is a fantastic way to improve both for saber spinning and balisong flipping, because it gives you that outside perspective. You can slow down and rewatch things over and over, and you don't have to split your focus in the moment between performance and analysis. One last thought on artistry that's unique to lightsabers is how they look in darkness. The saber's light adds an entirely new element. Not only do you have the different color options, ignitions, and deactivations, but the way that the light itself changes the scene is such a fun thing to play around with. You can do the exact same spins while facing the camera in different directions, and it will look completely different. And whether in light or darkness, because the lightsaber is so much larger than a balisong, you can change nothing and have your back to the viewer and it will still look cool. If you do that with a balisong, they just won't be able to see anything. There's a lot more behind the back spins with lightsabers too. Not only have I gained a greater appreciation for the artistry and aesthetics of saber spinning, it's made me realize that while there's less technical dexterity in the spins compared to balisong tricks, there's much more skill required in your whole body to achieve an aesthetic performance. I've got a lot more to work on when it comes to composing a polished saber performance. Let me know if you want to see me post the occasional spinning clip as I work on my skills. Now there's one thing that I've intentionally avoided talking about so far, yet is closely intertwined with my previous 2 points on technicality and artistry and aesthetics, and that is flow. Balisong flipping and saber spinning are both flow arts, and as such, the importance of flow cannot be overstated. When it comes to flipping, flow is king. Sure, speed can be impressive, but only if it's flowy and fast. Crazy difficult technical tricks are cool, and the dedication to pull off hard tricks is impressive, but without flow, even the most advanced combos are gonna look sloppy. The same thing applies to spinning. If what you're doing isn't flowing well, it's not going to look good, and it won't feel good either. Now, one could also argue that flow is inherent to both clean technical execution and smooth aesthetic manipulation of both balisongs and lightsabers, and I would agree. If your movements don't flow together well, that's an element of your technique that is lacking. And if you're not flowing well, your moves aren't going to look as aesthetically pleasing. What I want to talk more about is less the importance of flow, but the similarities and differences of my experience flowing with both implements. One thing that I really enjoy about saber spinning is how easy it is to access a flow state. While I love the technical side of learning difficult balisong tricks and pushing my limits, I love how stripped down it feels when spinning a saber. It's all about flow. I don't get caught up in the difficulty of tricks and get kicked out of my flow like I often do with balisongs, but instead the simplicity of spins allows me to focus on flowing. That is another benefit of saber spinning, is due to the lower skill floor needed to learn spins and start stringing them into combos, even a beginner spinner will be able to enjoy entering a flow state fairly quickly. But due to the greater difficulty of learning balisong tricks, it can take hours of dedicated practice before you ever experience what it's like to actually flow with a balisong. Another thing I noticed is how it's easy to figure out saber combos while spinning, since I can stay looping one movement over and over while thinking about the next move. And pretty soon, I didn't even have to think. I could just, as Qui-Gon Jinn put it, concentrate on the moment, feel, don't think. Use your instincts. You just can't do that in the same way with balisong flipping, especially as a beginner. It's just harder to come up with new combos while flowing with a balisong. But when you take the time to plan intricate lines, refine them over hours of practice to blend each trick seamlessly into the next, and then finally execute them in a perfect flow state, the feeling is unmatched. It's incredibly satisfying and gives me confidence to pursue excellence in other areas of life, knowing that through perseverance, I can overcome adversity and achieve something my past self would have thought to be out of reach. And of course, the more you practice, the easier it will become to string tricks together and enter into a flow state, whether you're running through planned out combos or freestyling in the moment. The feeling of flowing with both balisongs and sabers are, well, it's just kind of hard to put into words. If you flip or spin or engage in another flow art or similar skill like playing a musical instrument, you know what it feels like when you are flowing with your body and mind in unison. Not pausing to think about what move will come next, but just allowing all your practice to manifest through your instincts into reality in the moment. If you get nothing else out of this video, my hope is that if you haven't experienced this, that you'll pick up a skill today and start. And if you do already engage in flow arts, that you will approach whatever you practice with a focus on flow. And as you level up your technical skill and refine your artistic style, you continue to enjoy flowing. Overall, I have really enjoyed getting to try out another flow art, getting to approach saber spinning as a beginner, but also applying my experience with balisongs and reflecting on the two disciplines has inspired me to reach new levels in my technical skill, artistry, and flow for both. I'm excited to continue developing my style with balisongs, and especially refine my saber spinning beyond simple execution of the spins, but a focus on overall aesthetics. I hope you have enjoyed joining me on this exploration of two very cool flow arts and are inspired to pursue excellence and, most importantly, have fun. Whether you're flipping, spinning, or something else, keep learning, keep having fun, and may the flow be with you. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I did making it. Thank you again to Sabers for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to use my discount link if you're planning on picking up a saber from their lineup, and leave a comment if you would like to see more saber spinning videos in the future. I'm planning on keeping my channel focused on balisongs as always, but it could be fun to post a spinning clip short here and there if there's interest. If you enjoyed this balisong related side quest, I've got a playlist on screen of other fun videos you won't want to miss. And finally,
this lightsaber will make a fine addition to my video background.